Welcome back to the Frith Guild podcast. I'm your host, Eric.
And I'm co-host Scott.
And today, as we take a break between the Frith Chronicles series and the Asher Academy series, we're going to go over Fables Part 3. Now, with this, before we get into it, we do like to always thank everybody for listening. If you could like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff, comment, let me know what you like, let us know what you like. Which Fables was your favorite out of the first set? And with that, we'll get into today's first fable. It'll be the Fable of the Dreamweaver, Part 3. We meet with Adelgis. He's getting a lot better at doing his projecting into the dream world. And his mind is able to basically find the abyssal leech wherever it is. He's doing a very good job of being able to find it. It's kind of rather difficult to actually hear what's going on most of the time. We do find out that the leech stays attached to the arcanist and talks through the arcanist. So it's under his skin and using his mouth as a puppet.
It's gross. It's really...
I do not blame Zelfree one freaking second for not wanting to keep these things around.
Yeah, everything about them is disgusting.
Yes. I'm not going to mention the mouse again because, ugh. Anyways. Adelgis is shaken awake by Zelfree, and his first thoughts, as far as Zelfree goes, is, I could have killed this guy 3 different times already. Give Adelgis a little bit of a break because he was actually doing stuff, okay?
He was working while he was napping.
Right. So Adelgis actually kind of goes in and starts to explain that what he was doing in the dreams and what he's been doing while he's been asleep. And get one of those can you tell me next time so that I know what's going on? Because I could totally help you with using my mimic magic.
Yes, you could have a buddy. You could buddy travel through these dreams.
Right, double the manpower here.
And Zelfree with the mimic magic is a pro at finding and identifying magical sources. Perfect.
Exactly. Adelgis, you're a very smart person, but you need to come on now. Anyways, Zelfree agrees to sit down or lay down, I guess, and go to sleep with Adelgis in Adelgis's room to be able to work on this magic. Zelfree pulls up a cot. I guess, the best thing you could do in the situation or in the room that you're in the guild manor. He does have a really difficult time falling asleep though, and I can only imagine Adele just being bloop.
That's what I was waiting for him. This is taking too long. Doop.
I totally expected that too. I was kind of just waiting for him to be okay, and just out of nowhere, just make me go to sleep. Eventually, Zelfree does fall asleep, and he gets into a dream with Adelgis. They are basically in the manor still. We are pretty sure this is Riker's dream. Adelgis ends up asking Zelfree about the plague, and it is noted that Adelgis always goes for the worst case scenario to prepare for things, which I can appreciate that, but at the same time, come on, you gotta have a little bit of positivity here. We don't expect the whole world to become plague-ridden and just this massively horrible place for Arcanists to live because of it. So we start to decide figure out how we're going to start to begin to search for individuals. Adelgis is suggested by Master Zelfree to go to Volke and kind of show Master Zelfree how things work, how this dream magic can work. So I imagine this is one of those way out of Zelfree's comfort zones with the Wilk magic. Zelfree is watching the dream in Volke's dreams, and he's kind of well, wait a minute, Volke is a god arcanist. So what if we use the god arcanist magic? You stay in this dream, go back to it every night. What if you soak in the feel of this magic? Because inherently god arcanists their magic is different.
Stronger. It's
obviously
on steroids.
Stronger, but it's definitely drastically different from everybody else's magics. So with this plan in mind, Adelgis goes back constantly, and for pretty much an entire week, spends his time in Volke's dreams trying to figure out how to find this magic. And it kind of just clicks with him at one point of, okay, this is what their magic feels like. So now he's got something to use to seek down not only his father, but he can seek down the rest of the god creatures as well before they even awaken or bond with their arcanist. He does use experimentally to look for his father, and he immediately gets pulled far to the north, past Fort Crown, past the island nations, and ends up finding the Soul Forge. And this is where we end, sadly.
There is a fable about the Soul Forge layer, but unfortunately, I did not realize in time to choose that one because that would have been a perfect transition. We are going to move to a different Callisto and Zelfree one. So, Fable of Deathlord Callisto. This takes place way back in time when Lynus and Zelfree, and at that time it was just Lynus, are kind of gallivanting around the world a little bit. They are both pirates at this point. They're playing cards in a tavern. There's a wyvern and a black unicorn arcanist there as well. And as they're playing cards, Zelfree, surprise, surprise, is going to cheat to be able to win. And Callisto is the one who picks up on it, doesn't call him out. He's not going to snitch on his friend like that, but there is a little smirk of like, yeah, that wasn't your real hand that you were dealt. But Zelfree does end up winning and taking home a bit more money than he probably should have. They talk about picking a new name for Lynus. This is something that pirates typically do. One, they can pick something a little more scary. Lynus isn't fear instilling in the greatest sense, so you can choose something that might represent you, strike fear into, the hearts of those you're pillaging. They finish the card game and they go back to the inn, and Lynus is talking about how he wants to build a ship, he wants to be a captain, he's done kind of his trials with Redbeard, and he's done with that and wants to forge his own way. They're going back and forth about names, and Zelfree mentions, the abyssal hells being real and the death lords. And there's one fable specifically, a fable within a fable, of this epic warrior who used to have these great battles, and eventually dies, but is resurrected by a true form phoenix. And it's kind of the story leading up to the Death Lord Callisto. So this tale of Death Lords, which is rumored to be true, but no kind of proof that the Abyssal Hells are existing at this point, is going to be the namesake for Callisto. Callisto also figures that Zelfree should have a name as well, going through everything, and decides to call Zelfree the Faceless. And this is because Zelfree does take on a number of personalities. He's never the same arcanist. He mimics whatever's around. So depending on the situation, you don't know what you're going to get with the Faceless. You never know when the Faceless is going to show up. You could be working with somebody who could be the Faceless and not even know it. So it's this perfect little ploy to kind of build some clout around Zelfree.
I want to say, between the two names, either Callisto or the Faceless, and granted not being in the, not understanding as deeply of what Callisto means as being a Death Lord, I think Zelfree wins with the Faceless as far as nicknames go. Kind of like, have you seen Squid Games? It's like the front man with the polygon face mask.
Yes.
Like that's kind of what I think about.
Yes, very much so. You don't know who it could be.
And with that, we will get into the third fable that we're going to look at today. I thought, since we have concluded with the series of Frith Chronicles and we have Luthair back, we are going to take a trip way back beyond the first book, actually, and we are going to look at the Fable of the Steel Thorn Inquisitor, and this is with Mathis and Luthair. So this is prior to Mathis being killed and all that stuff. So Mathis is a Steel Thorn Inquisitor. He is up in Whitecrest, which is in the northern areas. It's very cold, snowy all the time. Yetis and those kinds of creatures are predominant there, so kind of set in that mood. He gets a contract to go there to stop Kalroux? Kalroux?
I want it to be Kalroux, but this feels very like Frenchy or like Kalroux.
Right. If I was at work, I would definitely say Kalroux, but so they are there to hunt down and to find Kalroux. They are stopped by a mortal thief. Basically, woman's getting mugged in the middle of the street. Mathis being Mathis and Luthair as well, making sure that we're taking care of all of the injustice and not just the ones that we're there for. They take down the thief, give the lady her purse back. They essentially announce themselves as being the Steel Thorn Inquisitors and that he's a nightmare arcanist. So this is probably not the best strategy if you're waiting out your enemy, especially in a not familiar area. We are also mentioned that this is also the area that King Rowlith had ruled over and whom Luthair was born from. They also mentioned the naming schemes of nightmares and how Luthair is an anagram of Rowlith. When I first sat down and talked to Shammy, that very first interview, and I totally had not read this yet. Now I feel silly asking her about the naming schemes of nightmares.
There's a few of them, because there's one for mimics as well.
Right, and I actually really do. I am happy that I asked her about the mimics and the dragons. So I don't think those were brought up anywhere. But we do find out that Mathis was an apprenticing silversmith at the time before he had met Luthair. And he basically stumbled upon Luthair, trying to help locate his murderers. Not sure how Mathis kind of really got involved in this situation, being a silversmith apprentice, but I mean, obviously it was fated, so. Mathis ended up being stabbed trying to save his silversmith mentor, whom was actually trying to find said murderer from Luthair, King Rowlith. And Luthair was watching this whole time and then decides to save him by bonding. And if we look at how Volke bonded, this is literally the exact same situation where Volke was being torn to pieces by the Whiteheart antlers, and Luthair was like, fine, I guess I'll save you and bond at the same time.
It does complete my trial of worth, but I hate humans.
Why are they so fallible and clumsy?
They have this soft, fleshy skin, like...
This is why I wrap you in me.
Yes. Ice cloak.
So, we kind of get snapped out of our daydream here. A woman comes to hire them to kill her father's murderer. Both Luthair and Mathis have this kind of, I don't know exactly what we should do here. We're going to try to take the justice, but we don't really know what is exactly going on. So we're going to kind of try to stay at arm's length with this. They find out that the woman, her father and the murderer have been at quarrel for years. So this isn't anything new or surprising to anybody, apparently. But it did escalate. At the end, they ultimately decide not to take the contract because they're here originally for Kalroux, and we don't want to start poking our noses around places and possibly spooking Kalroux off, especially because being a Wendigo Arcanist, he can just be invisible and we don't know he's there. Several days later, actually like a week and some change later, we hear rumor that Kalroux is back in town, and this is where we also get some lore behind his name, and that this is actually the name of a Death Lord, and this Death Lord is Lord of Misery and Suffering. Like, obviously we got the Third Abyss, we got Dread Pirate Callisto, who happens to be a Death Lord too. The Third Abyss is where the Death Lords live, and Kalroux. Now we're almost got a full hand here of Death Lords. As we are looking for Kalroux. We find out that the woman has gone missing, and we find out that she essentially hired Kalroux to go and avenge her father. They talk about having to ride on caribous without antlers into battle, and I just want to say, I would love to ride into battle on a freaking caribou.
They're massive. Totally massive.
Like in the Battle of Five Armies for The Hobbit, and then we have Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom with all the different animals you could ride in there. Like, how BA would that be to ride into battle? And I'd just be like, you know what? No, screw this. I'm done.
Get my caribou. I'm going home.
Yeah, exactly. Like, pieces, y'all are on your own. Bye. We do locate where Kalroux is going to be and going to try to avenge this person's death. Mathis does move in to stop him as he attempts. After a short battle, Luthair, because they're joined together, they're bonded, or they're they gotta have a cute name. I gotta think of one for Volke and Luthair now. Shit, didn't think this one through. We'll figure it out by next episode. So Luthair ends up killing the Wendigo and then Kalroux. We are not sure what the connection between Kalroux and May, the woman who is seeking the contract to begin with, was. Kind of have assumption they're related of some sorts. They mentioned the bracelets that they have are probably like they're significant because of a happy memory, so we can kind of, I guess we're being alluded that they were married, or again a relation. I'm gonna guess they're married. I mean, Kalroux is being the good person. He was trying to take care of business, protect his woman, and avenge it, everything. And as they conclude their contract with Kalroux being dead and his Wendigo, Mathis and Luthair, or Luthair.
So bad.
I don't have an opportunity to do this much more, okay?
Well, you got to do Volke and Luthair. You got to do Eviana and Lacial.
I'll figure something out. I'll jot it down for next time. So we are hearing more and more about this plague that is expanding and getting to the isles, the island nations. We were supposed to go to the island nation of Landon, but I think we're going to try to figure out what's going on in the area first about the plague. And this ends Luthair's...
The Legend of Luthair.
The title of this is going to be Luthair. This is where Luthair and Mathis's story ends prior to picking up with Volke and Luthair. And if you guys have any inclinings as to what we should call Volke and Luthair and Eviana and Lacial, we'll probably throw up in the Discord and on the Facebook pages just to see what we can come up with our combination names here when they're together. Well, I won't get to the other one. I won't get to the other nightmare yet. Because next week, we will be starting on the Academy series with Astro Academy being first. With Academy Arcanus, I'm sorry. So with that, Scott, did you have anything else you'd like to add today?
No, just excited for the new series, new characters, some new bestiary entries.
Oh, so many bestiaries. And we should be having the new bestiary, the second bestiary coming out soon, so we should definitely be getting more information on other creatures, plus dread forms for everybody. And what else? There's so much, and we don't even have the final book to this series while we're going to be recording it, so it's totally going to come out at some point while we're doing this, and we're going to be freaking out because we can't talk about it.
Rude.
It's okay. We will get there. So with that, we will end today's episode. Catch us next week as we start the Academy Arcanus and the Astro Academy series.